Hello, everyone. In today's episode, we are speaking with the owner of Vision Cheer Company in Canada, Nick. Nick is going to dive into their unique business structure as a nonprofit, how they have grown exponentially year over year with their competitive athletes. And we're even going to talk how to train and recruit highly competitive athletes from an area that doesn't know cheerleading, and why a rising tide will raise all ships, getting more athletes into the sport. This is a fun one. If you love cheer, you're absolutely going to love this episode. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Cheer Biz Podcast. I am here today with Nick Verburg. I may have said that wrong.
Close enough.
From Vision Cheer Company. I am super excited. Nick lives in Canada. His gym is in Canada. I'm going to totally butcher most likely the location. I'm going to read Nick's bio to you, and then I'm going to let him introduce himself. I'm going to let him correct my pronunciation of his last name so I can look even more silly. But Nick is from Vision Cheer Company in Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada. He is an active national athlete for Team Canada for 10 years, as well as the vice president of Cheer Canada. So Nick, now that I've said your last name incorrectly, tell us a little bit more about yourself.
You know what? You said it the way that my grandma would have said it. So just more of an accent. I just say Nick Verburg, but you definitely said it the way that the Ukrainian grandma would have said it. So you maybe did better than me. And yeah, everything else is exactly as you said. So I'm pretty involved in cheerleading in a lot of different ways. We run a gym called Vision Cheer Company in Winnipeg. Winnipeg is a city for cheerleading not a lot of people have heard of, because we're a very, very, very small community when we started, and it's gotten a little bit bigger. And yeah, I've been with Cheer Canada for, I think I'm on my 8th or 9th year, second year as the vice president. And outside of all that, I still have a full-time job as an industrial mechanic. So I stay pretty busy, but I'm excited to talk about this. Yeah.
You have a full-time job as an industrial mechanic. And
yes.
We'll talk about kind of the structure of your gym because it's a nonprofit, but are you like the president of the, yeah. Okay. So I have to ask before we get into the episode, are you the person responsible for the CANADA Canada?
No, I haven't been around that long. Okay.
It is free in my head. There are times that I will wake up and it will be going in my head from whatever dream I had that night. And I'm like, gosh darn it, Canada.
I wish I could take credit for that. No, I would have joined probably, it's either the second or third year that Canada was in Premier. And that's actually, that cheer has been the cheer since Canada's first visit into the ICU. So I am pretty ancient in the world of being an athlete, but that predates even me. So
okay. So I had to ask. I'm still trying to find who it was, so I can buy them a drink and also maybe punch them sharply in the shoulder. It is the best. It's better than USA's cheer. I gotta say, it is
popular internationally. That's for sure.
It was the year that you guys won. Was it Premier?
No, we've never won Premier. 2 silvers. We've won elite, maybe I think every year it existed.
There was one year where you guys crushed it. I think you won a couple of the junior divisions maybe, but everyone around the All-Star was just chanting it constantly. Like you could not go to breakfast, lunch, or dinner without hearing some group saying it. And I think that was when it got rooted in my brain for eternity. So Vision Cheer Company, I've done a little bit of research. I've seen you guys before, but I didn't know much about your business because we go to Worlds and I've never had a team in the level 7 division where you guys have pretty much lived. But I've seen you guys around. I've definitely watched some of your teams throughout the years. So tell me a little bit more about your gym and how it got started and kind of what your mission is.
Yeah, so we're entering our 6th season now. Cheerleading, it's still like like what you would consider like in North America, quite small in our province, Manitoba. But yeah, we had worked at another gym, me and my wife and the three other people that are executives of Vision, and you know how it goes. Like it was time for a change up or whatever, and that would have been that was like the year that ended in 2020, and we were kind of like taking a break, and the goal was I was just gonna kind of take a break and start doing choreography and clinics because I was doing a little bit of that work already. And then yeah, first lockdown for COVID happened, and we had a bunch of free time, and through that free time, just kind of started throwing around the idea of like like what if we did perchance want to try to open a gym or whatever. And I don't know, we just kept talking about it and talking about it. Got really lucky with meeting the first landlord we ever had, who, I mean, commercial real estate was kind of easy to come by in COVID. Yeah. So he like let us sign a very affordable 1-year lease for a place, and we were kind of like, like if this doesn't work out because it's a pandemic, like we'll survive. It's not gonna take us. And then it just the things that we put down on paper and put on our website just like really worked with the people that we knew. And we've, since we started, been focused strictly, like all of our advertising focus and everything has been on getting new athletes to join the sport. I imagine if you're from a more established industry area, you can kind of do more focusing on trying to just get athletes to come to your gym that already know what cheerleading is. But like there's just so much work to do in just getting people to understand what cheerleading was, and we've been focusing on that. And kind of since then, the messages kind of resonated with people, and we've grown like a lot since we started. And yeah, so we're a nonprofit, and we're really focused on like the sport first aspect of it, and I'm sure we're going to get into what all that means. And yeah, we do a mix of like almost all of our coaching staff, other than like we have like 25 coaches, I think, other than like 3 have been on the national team. The vast majority of them are still actively on it. And so we do sell like the idea of like very elite athletics, but we make sure that the foundational kind of like entry point and the like value of those athletes that aren't that and never will be still feel like appreciated and a part of the whole community and the culture. And yeah, it's just gone. It's actually like it's been nearly impossible to keep up, but we're doing our best. And yeah, so far so good.
So tell me, what does that growth look like from year one to now? You say it's been almost impossible to keep up. What does that athlete growth look like?
Sure. So to put it into perspective, when we opened in 2020, there was 375 athletes in all of Manitoba.
Mm-hmm.
So that like including school. So all starting school, very, very, very small. We got 112 the first year, and like a lot again, like almost half of them were like brand new to cheer. Other ones obviously come from, we coached them before, whatever. Our 6th year now, we're going to be clear of 300 athletes on our own. And we started with like a 2,000 square foot little like garage that barely fit a floor. And we're up to 12,000 square feet of rental space with like it's in a brand new building. It's beautiful. It's air conditioned. It's like all the things. We have like an Olympic trainer that does strength training through like in one of our bays for our kids. And yeah, so, and actually like as a byproduct of our growth, like it's not like we've just like taken all of the athletes in the province. Like there's like we're nearly doubled the like, or Manitoba has nearly doubled its athlete population over those same 5 years, because like how it is, kids come in, they want to try something else, or gym's closer, blah blah blah, they move around. And yeah, like it's just been, I did about 6 years at cheer before that even started, and it was always kind of small, very like low level whatever, and it's just like hit this giant spike since we get started. And yeah,
that's amazing. And you mentioned how your guys's emphasis is on getting new athletes into the sport, and how more established gyms, maybe you don't have to do that. I would argue, and I have for years, that should be everyone's goal, right? Because if the sport of cheerleading grows as a whole, then a rising tide raises all boats. So if there's more kids in the sport, it's better for all of us, as opposed to the like, oh, I've got to get that kid and that kid and that kid and that kid. Like I got to get everyone to come to me, as opposed to, yeah, it's going to happen, right? People are going to move around. That's inevitable. But the more we can get kids who've never been in the sport, the better for everyone. So I'm on board with that plan. Yeah, so your new building is gorgeous. I've seen pictures. It's very pretty. It looked like you had started in like almost a gymnastics gym, like an
Oh, not
established.
even.
Okay.
It was like literally like a big garage. It was
Okay.
it was super rural. That's the
Okay.
adjective
Okay.
I'll use. It was yeah.
So
Yeah.
have you always been in your own space? Like you didn't ever share it with another business or anything?
Yeah, I mean, like part of the comfort that comes from like I know we're crazy busy having full-time jobs or whatever, but when we did the math on the first one, we were kind of like, let's get this rental space, and if like we try to launch in the summer and no one comes, then like we can just afford to like make some really crazy financial changes, but afford to just like pay for this place for a year until we're done with our contract. So we've only ever had our own space. Um, and actually, like when we launched, we took a small section of this like one garage, and before the season even started, we had to expand. So this was the first. This summer was like this off season was the first one we haven't expanded our space. We've moved into more space every year since we've started, which is this was nice actually. I had like a summer. Well, we renovated our lobby. We did a really nice lobby reno, but it like we didn't have to like buy a floor and build it and move or whatever.
Okay.
So, but yeah, we've always had our own space.
So what led you as a group down the goal to go nonprofit versus for profit? Like what were the determining factors for you as a group?
One of our executives is like really involved in all sorts of different like event production type stuff, and we also I left this off my bio because I don't like when my bio gets really long, but I'm also the head coach of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers cheer team, which is like the CFL, like the NFL equivalent in Canada, their cheer team. And that's a lot. There's like a lot of community stuff that goes on through that as well. And originally, when we talked about it, we were like, maybe we'll end up for profit because I know that's kind of industry standard. But when you're nonprofit, your access to grants and community support is like significantly higher. So one of the things that, and I don't know anything about how this works in the States. So if this is bad advice for anyone listening, just make sure you actually check. But when we get started, things like community incentive grants or like these things that come from the government to if you are checking off a bunch of boxes, which is like youth sport focused accessibility stuff. So like when we check the boxes that like we have like grassroots things like recreational, we're not in the core city in Winnipeg, we're just outside it. So access to things like that, you can check these boxes and get help buying things. Like so when we did things like when we one of the time or two of the times we expanded, we had different grant incentives that paid like very large portions of our renos or buying the whole floor that we needed and things
Oh
like
wow.
that.
Yeah.
And which is like when you're a startup, super helpful.
Yeah.
And honestly, like up until probably like 2 or 3 years ago, we were still kind of like I don't know when we'll go for profit, but like eventually maybe. And that's changed a lot just because my perspective on like how I think like the purpose of sport generally should operate and how cheerleading should fit into that's changed. So we will not that just is not a thing we're going to change. But yeah, it kind of went like it was like a ease thing. Also like because I've done Cheer Canada and Cheer Manitoba before that and worked with the bomber and like I was just like way more familiar with nonprofit like business structure than I am for profit. And there's a lot of requirements around transparency and stuff that come with for a nonprofit, but we weren't like I was like pretty confident. We believed in what we were doing enough that it's like, yeah, like everyone can see what we're doing. It's all good because there's nothing to hide here at all. So, yeah, that's kind of how it started. It was more like it was easier, and then it's kind of just turned into what we are going to do for the long term.
Very interesting. Yeah. I mean, we definitely, if you've followed any of my content, I'm very much a for profit person in terms of how to run the business. But the states are, I think, probably a hair different. We do get grants, but there's a lot of administrative burden with a nonprofit. And I also have sadly seen people who've had their gym no longer be their gym because there was a nonprofit and they got
So that's
pushed
a
out.
that's a common thing that people ask us about, and there's lots of different ways to do a nonprofit. So like Cheer Canada, for example, is set up that the members are the provincial bodies, and then they vote in the president and the vice president, but that's not like a requirement. So like to be clear, when we say nonprofit, like my position as the president is not going to be voted on by parents at ever. The only members of our nonprofit, which is like a way that you can set up a company, is the 5 people that run it. Like we're the only 5 members. And so there are a lot of protections around things like that. Cause that was definitely one of those things. It was like, yeah, I'm not like, I believe in all of this stuff for sure, but I also don't want to, those types of stories, you do hear them. And so it's not to that extreme that this is like it's not like a community hockey rink. It's not set up it's not that open.
And when you talk about being a nonprofit, I literally don't know the answer to this. I'm making an assumption that doesn't mean that you as coaches or presidents or people are not compensated in any way.
Yeah, no, definitely not. So there is like, we pay our coaches like a very good wage in comparison to like Canadian industry standard. And they're like, when you're a nonprofit, there are very high-end rules around like government set rules of like, if you're like the executive director for a nonprofit, you can't pay yourself like $1 million a year or whatever. Like there would be some caps, but those are like, we would be like, that's so far down the line that we would even be thinking about that. On principle, actually, currently every executive does run the gym volunteer. So I don't pay myself anything for the running of the gym, but that's more, we could, the money's there. Currently we're kind of very focused on putting the money into the gym or whatever. What nonprofit means is that like, there's also not a cap on how much money you can make. It's just, you can't just have it be profit at the end. So we have like a budget that at the end of the year, or at the end of like our budget at the end of every year, every dollar that we took in has to be accounted for in some way. And that can include like, in 8 years, we want to build our own gym. Now we could be putting a whack ton of money in that savings account to get there. And you can also take that extra money. You can pay yourself more. You can purchase things with it. You can do whatever you want. It's just that like core concept of like profit is this like money that you can take at the end doesn't work. So it has to be accounted for. Now we still obviously, on paper, it looks like zero, like there's no profit, but that means the money is going to purchasing a new floor or updating the thing or doing the lobby or all those other things that we do, or putting savings away for an emergency and blah, 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 blah. So that's kind of the core difference.
Yeah. I mean, and you clearly have a diligent group that is capable of doing that kind of accounting and budgeting, and not that you shouldn't do accounting and budgeting if you're a for-profit company. If you're listening to this, you should still do all of those things. But you just have
especially
to be
early.
especially early, and even as you grow. There's a very dangerous point in your business where you're like, we're making good money, I don't need to track it anymore. And then suddenly you're like, why are we broke? And it's because
I'm a nonprofit guy, but I do love spending money. So like I'm not the responsible one when it comes to things like this lobby and stuff that we did. I'm just like, buy it. Like this new TVs, like camera system, all that stuff. And then, but yeah, that's why like I need a budget for sure that has like very strong caps on what I'm allowed to spend, or yeah, we would run into those problems too.
So that's all very interesting. How have you guys grown the gym? Like you said, you've year over year just continue growing. You've essentially doubled the amount of athletes in your area. What is it that Vision Cheer Company did to make that a reality? Because that's the dream for everyone.
I've been thinking about this a lot. Like I've attended a couple conferences like over the years, and like obviously when you go to a cheer conference, like a lot of the business stuff is the same thing. It's like how to grow your business, how to make more money, blah blah blah. And I was thinking about this the other day, like heading into another year where we're going to have about a 23% athlete increase from last year. And I was like, I think if all I actually wanted to do right now is if I changed my mind and I wanted to make exactly as much money as possible, I wouldn't change a thing. Like the thing I would change is I was like, we would put it away differently, but like I actually couldn't think of a way to make more money than what we're doing. So when we started, because we had this like fantastic coaching staff who have, as far as like what Canada is concerned, like as many accolades as like as you can get, like multiple years of national like team experience and all that other stuff, and still active athletes, which helps a lot. Like the wheels are about to fall off for me, I could tell, but the kids, like having that like direct kind of like inspiration from like a coach that you can watch do their thing helped. But it started as this like, this is where I can like become an elite athlete, and all of us know that that's just not the future for the majority of athletes. And what we did was we started really, really, really focusing on getting an equal level of value to all levels, or perceived value to all levels of teams. It's been difficult to do because like you just like can't like lie that like if you're going to Worlds that's awesome and fun and like whatever. But doing everything we can to like make sure that this thing that I see happen with gyms all the time, like around placement season when they're going like, you got to like trust the process. But the thing that they're trying to sell is that eventually we're going to get you to be on an elite team. Like that's where the trust falls off. And our message is more like, we're trying to make sure that no matter who you are or what you do, you're getting the maximum amount of like sense of success, even if that means that you stay at level 1 from 8 to like, we want to keep you till you're 20. Like we want, like we're focused on like long-term athlete development and like extended value per level, and like finding ways to like get that sensation of keeping kids in sport for as long as possible, because we're like a female dominated industry obviously, and like the number of like most girls leave sports at about 13 years old, and that happens when they stop feeling successful. Like that's like usually number one. And if the way that like a gym is selling what is success is we're just trying to get you to go to Worlds or Summit or whatever, and they can't get there, then like there's this sense of failure and being stuck. Whereas we don't just level up kids for no reason, but we have things like development teams that start through the year. So if you're a level 1 kid, you can do like it's a once a week like half year thing where you can like work on level 2 skills through the year to try to get you, and we keep that like stuff like that like super low cost.
Mm-hmm.
And then we've opened up like additional steps from like, or like we make sure that we have like a level 1 in Canada. It's like U8, U12, U16, U18, so that we can kind of like, there's like that perceived progress if it's aging up and all this other stuff. And then just like constant messaging that like when you get that message from a kid or a parent that says like they feel like they're failing because they're not leveling up, just making sure that like that's not what we're trying to get you to do. We're not just trying to tell you that if you're not leveling up, you're failing. We're trying to make sure that you are finding ways to feel successful outside of that. And with our like U18 level 1s, who everyone knows like what that team is like, it's about like hitting a routine that you feel good about, getting them like a sense of like a performance that feels engaging to them, like social things that make them feel successful. And then also maintaining that stream that it's like you've got the kids that are ready to hit that like up ramp for their whole life, that they can follow that path too, but they don't feel like alienated or different or less than them. So I think that like the reason we've grown so much is not because we have so many athletes come in, it's because we don't have athletes leave. Like that's the number one. So this year last year we registered 212 all-star athletes, and 5 of them aren't coming back. 212. And the year before that we had 196 and only 2 athletes didn't come back. And that is like that's a literally 99% retention rate, is almost impossible to do. But like that's the key, is like it's not super hard to get people to come in. It's just hard to like just keep making it bigger without it leaking out on the backside. And that's what I think that's the key.
How do you manage that? Is it because you have post, for us post high school age teams for kids to now adults to stay in? Because like I wouldn't count in my retention rate my seniors who graduate and go to college, right? Like so I will never have a year where we have 190 and we keep 191, because we have 4 senior teams this year, which means I think we're graduating 20 kids. That just is what it is. But you do have the opportunity for people to even stay on after that.
Yeah, I should be clear. When I say all-star, I separate our Worlds programming from that, because it is obviously just like much more fluent. Like they do a year, they take a year off to come back or whatever. So all of those numbers I said, like we're taking the adults just out of the equation for that. When we talk about like long-term athlete development, sport for life is kind of like one of those, like is like a really key term. We'll see what happens obviously when like our athletes that started when they're 8 turn 19 or whatever. Like I can't imagine this stays true forever. But we added this year we added a non-Worlds Open level 6.0 this year, because it's just like there's like a lot of adults that like just are in their second year of university and they do not have $7,000 to spend on cheer, but they want to do it, and like they actually want to do something that's like hard and like meaningful, but they want to go to like a drivable travel comp and not a spend 6 days in Disney World travel comp, and like just finding ways to like your path isn't only up until you hit something that you call the top and then you give up. It's up until you hit something that feels like a plateau, and then we stay there as long as we can. Actually, like we had 2 U16 level ones last year, and we kind of separated by like age and experience. We didn't do a U16 prep because there would have been some kids that we would have taken off of U16 one, not to prep. That doesn't feel good, obviously. But everyone knows like what those teams are kind of like can be like. Like they're usually quieter kids. They come to practice to like hang out, and then they kind of go like the cheer's not their like life. It's like a social thing that they do as an activity. But like we kept all of them, which is like that. If there is a group of kids that you assume are not coming back, it like that's where you're finding them. It's like they're on their 6th year of level 1.
Mm-hmm.
And they're going into high school, but because we like try really hard to make sure that that team has like the right coaches that have the right energy to match them where they are, we measure success in ways that like are meaningful to them. Like we try like from the beginning, we're like trying to get them away from like measuring success in just results at competition. It's like, can we hit? Did you like your routine? Like these actual controllable things, making sure that they have that. And I guess we nailed it because they all came back. And then I'm not the like I find it funny like when I feel like I'm explaining the value of a participation trophy, because like that's not me. Like I've been an elite athlete my whole life. So we do also do the like RU16 level 3s that like we took to cheer sport and stuff last year. Like we do talk from day one that like the goal of this team is to win, and we're going to do what we can to make that possible. And those kids like love that, and that works for them too, right? So it's not like this is not like a one size fits all concept of how to keep people. It's like trying to make sure that you have the space for every different type of person to find value so that they come back. And that's the number one key to the growth, is the retention.
You're balancing having all of the options available in competitive sports within your 4 walls. So you can be on the most elite, the most competitive, the most hard pushing team. And if that's where you find value, we have that option for you. And if you really love cheerleading and want to have fun and be with your friends and and you love the performance, but whether or not it's first or fourth at the end of the day, it's like, did I do a good job?
Yeah, I get kind of long-winded about this because it's one of the things I really care about, but it's like I don't think you can do much to change where someone lands on that scale. Like obviously you can inspire it a little bit, but like when you see a kid that like when you play like kids that play soccer where they don't keep score, like some of them keep score when they're 5 in their head, and then some of them are just like happy to not do it. Like that's just kind of like where you're at, and like you got to make sure 2 things: they both have a home, and you just cannot mix them, because like one of the worst things that happens to a team is like you've got half and half. Like that's really 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 tough.
Yeah.
So some of our teams are small, they got like 11 or 12 kids on them, but they're like the same type of kid, so they don't feel like they're like being chastised for not trying hard enough or being held back because of the team or blah blah blah. And yeah, I just don't think there's much you can do except like try to find out who they are and then make the most out of that, instead of like trying to decide what they should be and then try to just like hammer it until they become that.
So when you place teams, this is actually a consideration that you're making. How do you determine that? Like I did not know this conversation was going to go this way. So like totally cool. How do you determine you're not a meat eater, you're not that competitive, I just want to win athlete, versus you are?
Like, so one is that we have really long tryouts, like really long placements. So we get into
like a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, that's another thing. I'm a big believer in an off season, which is I also know like not a thing that people do. So maybe we'll have time to get there too. But yeah, we wrap like at the end of Worlds, and then we do a ton of summer stuff that's like optional. But like I don't know, I tell the 9-year-old kids that are level 1 that I'm like, just go play soccer and like try other sports, and like you'll come back, you'll be better at cheer if you go like just do something else for a little while, believe it or not. But yeah, we just did placements like a week and a half ago, so our season runs September to April. Like that's like our first practice was Tuesday for the year. But yeah, we do like at 90 minutes of like really kind of refined groups, and we do it by level. So like you have to have like a set of prerequisite skills to even like come to the level 3 thing. You got to be able to like whatever you know
Yeah.
what I'm about
Yes,
to explain. So some of the criteria on the like, so one coach gets like only 4 kids and they get like 90 minutes with them, and we pair up kids, we pair up coaches, whatever. And like, but like a lot of the stuff on there is like specifically for level 1 is like maturity, age, how they like, we don't like try to like put them through like a boot camp, but we just like see like how are they going to respond to things like when we do the like plank thing for 90 seconds, like was it the second it got hard they kind of folded, and you just like get the coaches to write like a lot of notes. And again, I tell the parents this too, we're guessing, like we don't know, but we're trying our best. When it comes to like our U8 preps or our U8s in general, it's like obviously like we want our U8 ones to have all their walkovers, but like for the U8 preps, how we separate them is it's like age obviously matters the most. Like a 5 and an 8-year-old are just different, but then just like you just kind of get to know the kids as best you can, and then take some guesses. And like for sure, when it's if all we've met a kid is 90 minutes, like we kind of get that wrong. But we keep tons of stats through the year. Like our attendance keeps track of like whether they attended, if they sat out during practice, how often they were sick, if they were injured, if they had like minimal requirements because of like, you know, it's like they've got the sore wrist, sore knee, whatever. Keep track of that. Whenever there's an absence on something or miss something, we give a note of why. We coaches training, we constantly talk about our kids that are like doing like what's the wins, what are the struggles, and we just try to get to know the kids as best we can, and then that's a big part of matching it too. And yeah, it's like so far so good. Like it's definitely easier with more kids, like, but we've got, you know, U8 we've got 2 preps and an all-star. In U12 we've got a prep, a 1, a 2, and U16 we've got like a 1, 2, 3. Like we've got like lots and lots of teams. It's so much easier once you get to like level 4, because like there's not a lot of like level 4 kids that like don't care.
Right.
You know, like if you're 13 and you have your layout, like you're in, you know.
Yeah.
It's the thing that this is really important for is the foundational grassroots. But yeah.
Interesting. That's, I mean, you're getting me to rethink some of the things that we do. We typically do not assess anything like that, but I know exactly what you're talking about. Like you start conditioning and that kid who you see like 10, they count to 5 and they're like 10. You're like,
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Versus the kid who's like, that one wasn't good enough, I'm going to do an extra one, coach.
Sure. Very
interesting. So do you guys market at all? Do you do paid advertising or anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, like, is bank like dollar for dollar? I was like, I know I've heard you say this in your podcast before too. Like that targeted social media advertising is so powerful. Like you can pretty much see everyone you could possibly want to see for like a couple $100. Yes. Yeah, so we do. It's a part of our budget. Yeah,
I love that. On top of all this, you have a Worlds program, which is not an easy thing to do, and you have a Worlds program that competes level 7, of which there's like. Like 30 maybe total?
Yeah, across
large and small, and with tumbling. I know there's non-tumbling, and people have their opinions about it. If you've listened to the podcast,
that's another podcast.
I'm the tumbling and tumbling level 7, stunning level 7. That's a pretty rare team, and you guys have placed 4th. You placed 5th last year?
Mm-hmm.
Or 6th last year? Was it 6th, 5th, or 6th?
I 5th or we were 5th day 1, and then in 6th we had some
little
deductions,
bobble.
But yeah, I get you.
They do get you, and the darn USASF for
ISF for us, but
the 1,000,000-point bobble.
Yeah.
So, tell me what is that like? How do you guys build that? And I see a lot of people who try to do open teams and then go, I never want to do an open team again because these kids never come to practice and they don't care, and or they need everything for free. How do you structure yours, and how have you consistently found success in that division?
Well, we're still lucky enough at the point that like a lot of our coaches are still active athletes. So like the vast majority of that roster is like our coaches. Like this year we've got, I guess, 10 of us that are on roster are on the national team as well. So like we're like active athletes, like still at like the elite end. 2 years ago and years prior, we had enough, because they had that thing where you only have to have 10 athletes on a team. We had slightly smaller teams, and we did the kind of the same thing, that it was like some open athletes, like they want to go to Worlds, they like the trip, they want to do, but they're like not going to go to every open gym and work out and eat. They're like have a meal plan, blah 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 blah. And so we just had two different Worlds teams. That same idea, like sold a different thing. Like we're going to Worlds, and obviously like regardless of like level and like how I want to make sure it's very clear, like what I'm talking about, like make sure everyone has a place. We still want it to look good, and it still has to have our standard and all those other things. It's just like a slightly different product. You got to match those kids. I say kids, adults, whatever. So we separated it like that. But there is, beyond that stream of like the foundations and the grassroots stuff, we still do have that like upward stream of like the elite level. And we have that kind of like, as of right now, it's a U12-2, U16-3, U18-4, and then this Worlds program. And it's kind of like that trajectory that kind of gets you there. And like, I know that we're still from a small gym, like we haven't had the results we're going to like, I think that we're capable of getting, but it does offer like Canada in particular is like really leaving the difficulty of Worlds out of the picture. And I don't know if any of my friends are going to listen to this. Sorry if I hurt your feelings, but like the like fleeing to level 5 and non-tumbling has been like, I just think ridiculous and harmful for the sport. And then like you can be quite appealing to people if you're like one of the only gyms in Canada that's in a legit difficult full sport part of the sport. Like, it's like that means something, and people take a lot of pride in that. Like when you watch like almost every other Worlds program in Canada has gone to level 5 that they call world champions, even though you don't compete against America, and you go non-tumbling where people went because America wasn't there, and now they're leaving because America's allowed in, which just proves the point. And this is like proof positive that like we mean what we say. Like we are elite athletes, and we sell that. And then we also do make accommodations around like Clarity is our open team. It's our flagship team. Like we tell people that like this is the model of like what Vision can be. And because it's a flagship team, like we keep costs incredibly low. Like we like look at it like on paper, like it's our like one of our advertising streams. So it kind of gets separated from in a lot of ways, it's separated from our like all-star budget, and it's more like it's subsidized a little bit in a way that we kind of just call marketing, which it is, like, so because like a lot of the best athletes, like if you've done 2 or 3 years of like elite Worlds, they're kind of like, I don't want to do this again for like, it is so expensive to go to Worlds from Canada. It's like a $5,000 a year, and people just don't do that. So we try our best to like, the athletes pay what it costs. Like they pay for the uniform at cost, they pay for competition at cost, they have to cover their own travel and blah blah blah. Like we don't pay for it, but we just aren't making money off of them the same way that we try to with other ones. And that's another thing that's helped a lot too.
I mean, how often do they practice?
We do like 2-hour practices a week.
Okay.
Yeah.
But regular practices, like at least twice a week, couple hours. Yeah. I mean, the errors I see a lot of times with people who try and do open teams, they're like, oh, we're going to practice once a week and we're going to just open it to everyone. If you're over 18, like you're on it. And it's like that can work, I guess, but not if you want to be competitively successful.
Not for a long time, not for an extended period of time. No. And we placements for if you're under 18, like we will give you a spot on a team no matter what. But we do tryouts for our Worlds team, and like we've made the choice, like for Clarity to be what it is, which is like a true, like, especially this year, hopefully you keep track, because this year is like looking quite good. For it to be what it is, like we do make cuts. That's, I know, like another thing that's like not super popular, but it's like, yeah, for us, it's like to keep your elite athletes, they have to feel like they're on an elite team. And if you just let everyone in, then yeah, you're more welcoming to the athletes that like aren't kind of getting to what the standard needs to be, but you're also like devaluing what you want from like what your most elite athletes are. And I think either way, you're kind of going to lose one. And at the highest end of our like athlete development, we're focused on the elite end. And we always try to have a home for the grassroots end, but at a certain point you just can't. And that's a sacrifice we've made.
And Worlds kind of should be the defining factor there, right? Like, I mean, that's what makes sense.
unpopular opinion, but worlds should be hard and elite competitive for everyone. Yeah.
Unfortunately, the world championship should not be for everyone. I competed in gymnastics until I was 14 years old, and I was never going to be an Olympian ever in a million years because the Olympics are not for everyone, and I wasn't good enough. I was a decent athlete, and then I went to cheer and I was really good.
Yeah, shout out to being an okay gymnast and becoming an immediate elite cheerleader. Yeah.
I mean, it helps. Less events to master, especially men's gymnastics.
Yeah, of
I was
course.
terrified of the high bar for some reason. Just didn't like it. So tell me about what it is like. Like, what is Cheer Canada doing? Because I think aside from the States, Canada has had the most world championship programs, the most growth in cheer, arguably. I think then followed by maybe the UK. France has some good, like there are good programs, but the growth hasn't been the same. What is it that you all are doing to progress the sport in Canada?
Yeah, I think that like in general, like there's been a pretty big focus on just like the cultural acknowledgement of it. I don't know what that's like in other countries at all, but like I think like you can talk to a American and like they at least know a cheerleader and it is like normal to like it's considered a sport generally, like people do it, people know people that have done it, and that's like actually like really hard to do. I think like probably in America a lot of people like because it's where it started and it's like how it's been, it's kind of just like this like it's got this like cultural infrastructure that takes a really long time to do. But I think that Canada's done a lot of like making it become a known sport. And man, like there are so many different like examples of things that I could do, like even just from like community outreach type stuff. Like I constantly see people like go out to whatever like parade that their city has, like those types of things. They do like all these like community events, like just the way that they like kind of get out there. And I think because we're still at this like point of yeah, like we just got to like literally let people know that cheerleading exists at all. That's where like a big part of the spike is. And like without a doubt, Canada has like I said it's inconvenient to go to Worlds from Canada. It's like probably way more inconvenient to go from Australia, you know,
Yes,
like
it is.
and
You
like
guys
me and
have
your
to get a
guys'
visa?
nope, no.
Yeah.
We just like yeah, it's short enough. I don't know what's gonna change of the next bit, but that's not for this
That's
podcast for sure.
that's not going to change. Don't worry.
Yeah, yeah,
I'm convinced. Yeah, no, Australia or like Mexico, they have to get visas, so it's even more
yeah.
expensive.
Yeah,
That's
it's a
rough.
pain. Yeah, and it's far. And then like also like I mean we've just been really lucky like to have some really like entrepreneurial kind of like industry builders that have made things possible. Like there's people that are like event producers that made like events really big. Like and you like we're actually at an interesting point in our like kind of culture that we're like far enough along that you can like really start admire where we're at, but you can still talk to the people that like know how it started. Like the people that like opened the first apparel company like are still doing it. And like you could just like go meet them and talk or whatever. And same with like event producers and stuff. Like some like the like one of the first like really successful college programs at Western, they like the person that really made that thing what it is. He's still coaching. Trace, he's still coaching, and like you can like listen to the stories how they like used to like just travel province to province and just like teach people cheerleading like for the love of the game or whatever. So I think it's just like we're still at this point. Like I know people are still like they talk about it like it's like we gotta it's an industry where like it's money and it's whatever, but like there's still this like kind of like fervent passion that gets people to like get excited and just get out there and and then yeah as far as the success goes like there's just some really good coaches and athletes out there that have kind of figured it out, and I do think that like because we've been able to go to worlds probably more than any other country, like we're probably on like the upward like the leading end of like how much access you have to like elite cheerleading, but like Canada has hit a point that there's especially in like some of our like centers, like on like the West Coast in British Columbia or in like Ontario and Quebec, there's so much elite cheerleading now that like they can kind of like self-propel themselves to being awesome. Like when you're early on in the game, you kind of do your best and then you go to Worlds and you're like, oh, that's what cheerleading looks like, and then you like do your best to like catch up. But like in like open all girls six, like Golden Girls and Great Whites, like those were just two ridiculously good teams that went head to head to head. And Sharks was obviously like they're like world famous for how good they were, and GG's managed to catch up and beat them 2 years in a row. And like that, like when you have the best team in the world and another program is chasing and they're leveling each other up, then like that whole area just gets elevated by that, right? So we've gotten close enough to the actual top of the pile, like close enough to America and enough divisions that like we can now start doing that kind of like self-propelling thing where you don't have to like go to worlds to level up. You can actually just do it comp to comp to comp, year to year, I think.
Yeah, it's been really cool to see over the years and see the game get elevated, because it's good. It's also good for the States to have another country that's pushing as well. You know, it used to be that all of the guest coaches were, you know, going over for vacation in Canada. And now it's going both ways. Now we have like really fantastic coaches coming from Canada to help, you know, elevate the game in the States. And I think there were a couple people that really started that in Canada, really started to branch out and go a variety of places. But it's been really cool to see. So super awesome. What's next on what do you see for Canadian cheer in the next 5 years? What is your prediction?
Well, I think like obviously like All Star is its own world, but I do think that like as far as representing Cheer Canada, and like I do think like there's enough pride in Team Canada that like still like a lot of like our identity. I'm obviously biased because I've been a part of the program forever, but like Canada's identity is like they do attribute a part of it to like the ICU part of Worlds. And man, like we had so much momentum in 2019 because we got that, like co-ed got a silver medal or whatever, and then COVID and we pretty much restarted. But last year we got a silver again, and just seeing like I'm on my 10th year, so I've seen like the fluctuation of athletes, but there's so much excitement in it. And I think that like one of the hardest parts about getting people to like aim to be the best in the world, like for Canada as in general to be like aim to be the best in the world, is the belief that it's even possible. And that's a really hard thing to do. Like if you've never won, it's hard to believe that you can. But once someone does, then that's kind of when things change a lot, right? So if we can consistently stay podium ready with our premier teams, and like especially if we can manage to win, just the whole perception of what it's possible as a Canadian cheerleader is going to change dramatically, and that'll change. And then our like recognition as like a legitimate sport that comes through like lots of different ways. Like cheerleading is a numbers game, like all sports are. If we can start like in the States, the thing that happens is like sometimes your best athletes actually become cheerleaders. Like that's like a thing that happens. Like a guy that is like a true like 1 in 100,000 elite athlete is like, I like cheer. Whereas like with us still, like our elite athletes do other sports for the most part, but as you become considered more legitimate, like through sport funding and through like this like recognition that it's a thing and there's enough infrastructure, then you can get a big enough like kind of like door that enough people early are coming in early, then things really change, right? Because it's hard to find a 1 in 100,000 athlete out of 1,000 people. Like you're pretty unlikely to get it. But if we can actually get to 100,000 athletes across the country, 200,000 athletes across the country, then things like really change. The amount of money that's involved changes, what it means to be successful changes, and from there, like it's all about momentum, right? And we definitely have it. Like it's definitely growing. And I don't even think we have to like beat the States in any way, like because the sport's going to get so big, it's going to be like other sports at the Olympics where it's like who knows who's going to win, right? Like so but yeah, the podiums will get bigger and the sport will get bigger, and then all levels of cheer should benefit as that happens.
It's amazing. Well, I've kept you for almost an hour, and I'm sure we could could just keep chatting, but you are a busy man, a full-time job and running a gym and a vice president of Team Canada. But last question, if you could wave a magic wand and change one thing about the cheer industry, what would you change?
I'm trying to think of the most concise way to say it. I think one of the things that cheerleading has wrong, and I think it's easy to understand how we got here if you know the history, is that we're an industry first with the sport as the product instead of a sport first that creates an industry in the pursuit of sport. And when you look at really, really, really well-established sports, and I mean ones that are like globally recognized with like giant world championships that every country participates in, and there's like hundreds of millions of dollars involved. When you look at like how it's built, it's almost all sports are the same. Like when you do like hockey or soccer or whatever as a kid, it's much more about just like the community, and then there's so many people that participate, the industry is a result of the overflow of the success of the sport. And I think that, and then again, this is a magic wand. So like there's no rules here. I just like get to I get it. Yep. Like I get what I'm saying, but I do think that like for us to hit that level of like truly recognized as a global sport that has the quantities of athletes that we need, we have to do a better job of being sport and athlete first, not thinking of athletes as customers, but thinking of athletes as athletes, and then the product that comes from it being the results of all of the interest and the possibility. And again, like that's what we're trying to do. And we are not struggling to make money or have a bigger business or get more space or all those other things. So hopefully we can do all that and win so people really take me seriously. But yeah, that like, again, if it was a magic wand, I would want to see industry be a result of sport, the pursuit of sport, not sport be the result of pursuing industry.
Very interesting, and one I have never heard before. So I love it. Yeah, and it was concise. It was concise. You did great. Well, Nick, thank you so much for your time. It's been an absolute pleasure. We may have to break this up into 2 episodes because, sure. But who knows? Sometimes people stay for a while. It was a lot of fun. Everyone, I hope you enjoyed listening. And with that, we will catch you on the next episode.
Thanks.